I dove for 15 years with just a regular black suit. I dove for years without a pair of carbon fiber fins with no problems. Let's get a little bit into the personal gear, okay? Gear that we're gonna have on our body as we're diving. So for one thing, depending on where you're diving, this is true for most places, you're gonna need some sort of thermal protection. The thermal protection, a wetsuit, right? You're gonna know depending on where you're diving, what you need. So usually in water in the 70s, 3 mil works good, and water in the 60s, high 60s, you 5 mil. As you drop in the 50s, some people prefer 7, right? And so there's all these different variations. You're going to kind of have an idea what works for you. And I'm not going to get all into that because that's more of a personal thing. If you want to have any more questions, you can contact me and we can talk about it. But from now on, I'm just going to go over very general stuff here. So this is what I've actually wore when the water's in the 80s, and it's just a little hooded vest, and it's nice. This one's from Hatch, but it's got this pad here. Most spearfishing freediving suits have this pad here. It's a loading pad. It is amazing when you're trying to load your spear gun, especially if you're trigger happy and you're shooting all the time. You're going to get welts on your hip like I have before. So, all right, to just standard neoprene, nothing special. It's just like a surf suit, okay? This next one, this is just a regular surf suit. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because you look at this neoprene, okay? There's nothing special to it, all right? You can see that? Just a 3-2 surf suit. This works great for in the tropics. I've used it in the tropics. If you don't have access to all the, or a budget that's gonna support all this fancy new technology equipment and all that stuff, really any surf suit will work good, okay? Camouflage suits, I dove for 15 years with just a regular black suit. You know, they're not. So this is a more traditional spearfishing suit. Camouflage. If you look in here, we've got this rubber lining, true rubber. These suits tend to be more stretchy, very, very stretchy, a little fragile. That's why there's this other material out here to protect it, okay? But they also tend to be much warmer, right? So this one is 5 mil. This is a Farmer John, and there's another top to this suit that goes over that. So it's almost like it's 5 mil, but now you've got a 5 mil top on top of that. So you got 10 mil, okay? It's a really warm suit. I wear that suit in the wintertime here where the water is about 58 on the surface and then drops sometimes significantly as you dive down. But let's move on with equipment. A mask. Look, a low volume mask is really nice. The reason why it's really nice is because as you dive down, the volume in the mask starts to shrink, right? And what that does is it sucks this to your face. The more air you have in your mask, the more it's going to want to sink or shrink down. And it causes, you can get a squeeze right around your eyes. You need coming up looking like a raccoon. Or you have to equalize in your mask by just blowing out of your nose slightly. And for this mask, I have to do that right around 30, 35 feet. If I were to wear one of those big scuba masks, I'd probably be doing that like 15 feet, you know, every so often, much more, and wasting air having to equalize, right? The other thing about these masks is there's freediving mask and there's spearfishing mask. And there's kind of a happy medium. A freediving mask, right, or a spearfishing mask, whatever, the low volume. Now you feel the view is gets cut down significantly, okay? But what you get is, like I said, a much more comfortable dive. So just keep it simple, get a black mask. And as far as fitting your mask, the best way to do this is you just put it on your face and you suck in, and it should stick to your mask, or it should stick to your face. Just suck in on your face, okay? It should fit nice and snug, comfortable, be very comfortable, because you're going to be wearing this thing for some hours as you're kicking around, okay? And they cost anywhere from, I would say, like $60 on up, right? And just any standard snorkel, I would say that if you're going to get a snorkel, make sure it's soft and not rigid, because you don't want it hitting you on the side of the head. It gets really annoying. That's that with a snorkel. Pretty cheap item. Booties, any pair will do. This is 3 mil, or this is a 2 mil. A lot of times I didn't wear booties, but your feet get cold, especially when the water's 50. Wear a 3 mil, but usually I just stick with these. Booties work fine. Don't use these as sandals because they'll wear out really quick if you do that. So just an idea with booties, wait to put them on when you get close to the water. Gloves. Okay, here's a little tip. This is not Dyneema, real tough, right? These were pretty cheap, and they have this rubber coating to protect the material itself. Sometimes the fingertips get worn off as you like rub, if you're having to scratch on things to try to get fish to come in. One thing I'll say is that gloves themselves, if you go to Home Depot, you can get, I think it's like 3 for $5. If you go through gloves quite a bit, a real cheap pair of gardening gloves that are very similar to this, of the feel and the rubber here, the little coating they dip on it. You can get those pretty cheap at Home Depot, and you'll go through those a little bit quicker. But these ones will last you a little longer. They're a little bit more expensive, but just an alternative, okay? One other little thing you can clip on your weight belt if you're concerned with getting lost or anything, and I guess I should have put this in the safety portion, is this little blow-up inflatable. It folds out like this, and you can blow into it, and it turns into like a sausage, and you can just hold it up and flag someone down and get their attention. It's actually really nice to have, especially if you're going to be going offshore in blue water, and especially if there's some sea state. It makes it way easier to see you while you're diving. In worst case scenario, you got to plan for the worst. You'll have a way to flag somebody down if, God forbid, you get lost at sea. That's no good. All right, next thing. A lot of people use lights. Okay, a lot of people use lights, LED lights. This is an orca torch. I've used this quite a bit. It's pretty nice. They use these to look in cracks in caves. When you're diving for lobster at night, you'll use these. I personally try to make sure my hands are free, and I use this little strap that straps to my wrist, and the light kind of goes wherever I'm looking. It's kind of a nice tool to have. But that's lights. Really, I'd say just spend a good amount of money. Just get a nice LED light and make sure you always charge it up. And now that we covered the light, let's talk a little bit about these two items right here. This is a weight belt. It's a rubber weight belt. You can see it's kind of stretchy, okay? There's nylon weight belts like the traditional scuba ones with plastic buckles. I always say if it's plastic, it's gonna break. I hate plastic, especially you set it down on the boat and then the buckle breaks off and it's just a pain in the butt. They do have quick release. All you gotta do is leave enough scope and you just pull and yank and it'll go, okay? It's hard to do right here, but you basically pull it and yank and the thing will go off. This is a vest, is a weighted vest. If you want to take weight off your weight belt and put it in your vest, go for it. It's kind of nice. However, putting a lot of weight, depending on what you dive with, where you're at, how much neoprene you have in, like how much wetsuit you have on, how thick your wetsuit is, I wouldn't advise like trying to do this with, let's say 15 pounds, but these vests are really comfortable. And if you have lower back problems, it keeps the weight off your lower back. So I like these. Most of the weight I put in here is like 2 pounds or below. I think I put a 3-pounder in here one time. But it's nice when you have like summertime and the water's in the 70s and you got a thin wetsuit on, throw it on. It's really nice. Okay, weight belts. Weights that go on the weight belts. So you see these. Look, the deal with these weights are, why did I dip them in white? Because they're easy to see. Very easy to see white on a weight belt. And I have the weights behind me so that if I were to black out or something, I would go upright rather than down, okay? Biggest thing is with these weights is you want to be able to see the weights if they're white, right? And you want to be weighted properly. We get into that as well later on the course because that's a whole other topic. And it's a very, very, just a real quick, I say a rule of thumb is just enough weight to submerge your wetsuit, okay? And maybe a little extra, but we get into that. But yes, weight belt and weights, important. Keep it light. I try to put like a lot light. I mean, not just 1 10-pounder. I try to spread out the weight evenly around my waist with most of it behind my back. All right, the next thing, I have a really set of old fins here. These are Cressy, super old. I think they're about 20 years old, to be honest with you. And they are plastic. They're cheap. They're like $100. And like I said, they're 20 years old. So if you're thinking about not dropping, depending on what your budget is, I recommend just a pair of plastic fins. You're probably going to lose them, to be honest. Full foot. Make sure you have a full foot, not a strap. You'll get blisters pretty bad. And it's really a lot of stress on your toe, where when you make it part of your full foot, you can use your whole calf and everything. Freediving fins, you can see they're longer. They help with more thrust. However, when you do that, it creates a little more drag and you got to use more strength. There's 3 basic kinds of fins. There's plastic, there's composite, which is basically fiberglass, And then there's a pair of old carbon fiber fins. Okay, these carbon fiber fins are super light, very efficient, and they're pretty nice. They work really well. Having said all of that, okay, you can see right here, this one's cracked, right? Look, they're expensive. They're like $300 on up, okay? And I dove for years without a pair of carbon fiber fins with no problems. They're not a necessity, but they're kind of the standard now as far as diving plastic fins, or excuse me, carbon fiber fins. Oh, they're really nice, you know. One little tip to these is I dip the heels as well in white. And the reason why is you can see me with my white belts, my white weight belts, my white weight, and my white heel. So all of that helps to be seen while you're at depth. And especially in low visibility environments, it's really key.